Okay. Thank you, Erie Fairy. All right. I don't. I'm embarrassed. So apparently, I didn't have the microphone on. What an idiot. What an idiot. All right. That explains the people dropping out. All right, let's start again, shall we? And I'll try to cut this out of the replay. Okay. Oh, jeez. What a Monday, huh? Monday. See, this is the issue. I don't wear my glasses. I can't see this little tiny symbol that shows I was muted. See, like, okay. All right, there we go. Now, idiot I am. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. It is October 14th. There we go. It's Columbus Day. See, look at this graphic here. We got good Columbus and bad Columbus. We got the explorer and we got the colonizer. Oh. So that's what we're going to talk about today on the show. I'm Tom Coffey. We're at Coffee and Nuance. We're on Rumble live, rumble.com/coffee-nuance/live. And remember, we're on the road to 420. That's right, 420 followers on Rumble. We can get there. Right now, we're at 314. Not seem to be climbing any. So if you like shows that start off muted for the first bit of it, this is the show for you. You're not going to find that elsewhere. Other people, they start the shows with their microphones on. Not me. Not me. So this is fun. It's a gamble. It's like, oh, is Tom going to remember to turn the microphone on? Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. Anyway, today I got a great monologue to talk about. Great idea, and that is selective moral inversion. So let's get to it. Yeah, all right. Happy Columbus Day. Or as some of you might prefer, Indigenous Peoples Day. Hi, Portland. And for the few of you who still celebrate Columbus, just a heads up, you'll be hearing about it at Thanksgiving. Now, Kamala Harris, you know her, wannabe commander-in-chief, world's most awkward motivational speaker. She said, European explorers ushered in a wave of devastation, violence, stealing land, and widespread disease. I love how she frames it, like Columbus showed up with a suitcase full of pandemics and just passed them out, like they were party favors. Here, take a smallpox. Look, I'm not here to argue history. Did Europeans do some terrible things to indigenous people? Perhaps. Did they also introduce the world to pasta carbonara? You bet. So you win some, you lose some. But here's the thing. There's a modern twist to this. Kamala talks about how European settlers brought devastation, violence, and disease to this land. And okay, fair enough. But have you ever noticed it sounds a lot like what people say about illegal immigration today? Before anyone starts clutching their pearls, let's be real. What's one of the most common arguments against it? That it brings crime, drains resources, maybe a little disease on the side? Now, hold up. I'm not here to compare Venezuelans to colonizers. The only thing they have in common is that both showed up uninvited. But seriously, can we talk about the irony here? Because it's thick. Like we condemn Columbus for invading a land and wrecking it. But somehow today, when the same concerns come up, we're suddenly a bunch of heartless xenophobes for pointing it out. That's what I like to call selective moral inversion. Okay? We all love a good moral high ground, especially when it's paved with historical guilt. But we got to admit, it's a little convenient, isn't it? Condemn the past for doing what we don't even want to talk about in the present. And look, I get it. History sucks. It's complicated, but you can't use history as a get out of criticism card. Like the Pilgrims stole land and now you think open borders are cool because we're all immigrants once, right? Really? Is that what we're saying? It's like your ancestors were pirates, so your friends can take your car without asking. It's tradition, man. It's the same old story: theft, violence, disease. But if you're talking about 1492, you're a woke hero. If you bring it up now, you're basically Hitler in khakis and a polo shirt. It's like we got a time machine for moral outrage, and it only goes one way: backwards. Listen, people, I'm not saying we shouldn't care about immigrants. We should. But I'm also saying it's not a crime to be consistent. If we're going to roast Columbus for bringing the flu to the New World, can we at least talk about the fact that modern immigration brings real issues too? You know, like crime and resources stretched thinner than leggings, or as I call them, not pants. I call them not pants in real life. That's what I do. I call them not pants. It's not about hating anyone. It's about looking at the facts and admitting that history, like life, is messy. So if you're mad about what happened 500 years ago, good for you. And maybe don't turn around and celebrate the same thing happening now because it makes you feel better about your politics. That's the kind of double standard even Columbus wouldn't have got away with. He got away with a lot. In the end, folks, we got to stop the selective moral inversion, because if you only condemn something when it's convenient, then maybe you're not that woke after all. You're just asleep in a different bed. And at that point, maybe you're not the one who should be lecturing us on morals. So, happy Columbus/Indigenous/Moral High Ground Day. Because let's face it, the only thing we love more than rewriting history is ignoring how much we're repeating it. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee and Nuance Show, the most incredible, sometimes muted, censored commentary and news show live right now. Flame on. Whew, all right. What a way to start. What a way to start. Yeah. So I'm talking about this idea. I'm calling it selective moral inversion. There might be another term for it. I did some searching for this idea online. I couldn't find it. Couldn't find what to call it. Came up with a couple different ideas, but I went with selective moral inversion. Seemed okay. It's not that catchy, though. So if you got any suggestions, let me know. But anyway, this refers to this contradictory application of moral standards, where the actions condemned in historical contexts are either defended, rationalized, or overlooked in modern times, despite sharing similar characteristics. This dilemma arises when individuals or groups criticize past events, such as colonization or conquest, for causing harm like violence, resource theft, disease, but fail to apply the same moral scrutiny to contemporary situations, such as illegal immigration or other forms of social disruption. And it highlights the selective nature of moral outrage. So selective moral outrage, yeah. And the inconsistency in applying ethical principles across different periods of time and different contexts. So that's kind of the idea that we're talking about today. This comes up because Kamala, I saw clips going viral on Twitter from what she said about 2 years ago. Basically just saying that Columbus was evil and he brought all kinds of bad stuff, and that's not history, and we got to look at everything that happened because of that. It's like, okay, pretty rich coming from our border czar, right? Or anti-border czar, if you will. I don't like this attack on Columbus because I think that everyone has good and bad in them. And, if we're only to celebrate people that only did good, we will never celebrate anyone ever, right? Now, they tore down Columbus's statue in Tim Walz's state, and he celebrated it. Or didn't celebrate it per se, but, kind of approved of it. He said, I understand why they do this kind of. And Kamala has said that she wants to do away with Columbus Day. Now I'm here in Portland, Oregon, probably the wokest city in the country. Perhaps there's someone else that's more woke. I don't know of one. But today is Indigenous Peoples Day here in Oregon, at least. Yeah. But it's the same people that go after Columbus so hard. And the exact same thing is happening right now to our communities that they're totally overlooking. And so that's the selective moral inversion. That's the idea. Now, I did throw this into, I wrote a little article on this, and I threw it into Notebook LM, and I had it make a little podcast. I don't agree necessarily with the views of the podcast that I'm going to play. This is actually a shorter one. But when I play it, so I don't agree with everything that they're saying, but it's interesting, the points that they came up with. And I bring this up to you just to show you how incredible AI is and how quickly it could be replacing a lot of our jobs. So let's listen to this podcast that was made from this idea, selective moral inversion, that I typed up and I put into I put in it, and the AI made a little podcast about it. So let's check that out.
All right, so get this. Ready for a deep dive? We're about to unpack something really interesting about how we view right and wrong.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're looking at this article called The Role of Bias in Selective Moral Inversion. Catchy, right?
Definitely grabs your attention.
It really does. And it asks this question: are we quicker to condemn things that happen in the past than we are to judge the present by the same standards?
Interesting question. I see where this is going.
Right. It's easy to look back and be like, oh, that was so wrong.
Totally.
But are we holding up the present to the same scrutiny? It's like, think about how we view colonization now. We're seeing Columbus Day replaced with Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, right? There's this huge push to acknowledge the harm that was inflicted.
Absolutely.
I mean, this article even quotes Kamala Harris, who called it a period of, and these are her words, devastation, violence. And it's true, those words carry so much weight because colonization was a brutal chapter.
Yeah, no question about it.
But here's the thing. This is where the author points out something really interesting. We're quick to condemn the past. But, and I'm curious to get your take on this, do you think we apply that same energy to what's happening right now, today?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's exactly what this selective moral inversion thing is all about. It's like we judge historical figures or events super harshly, but then we might give similar situations happening today a pass, even if there are some pretty clear parallels.
So it's easier to take the moral high ground when it's about something or someone from the past.
It's almost like it's safer that way, you know?
Because we weren't there. We're not directly involved.
Exactly. It's like looking at a historical figure and judging them for their stance on, say, slavery, which of course we completely condemn today. But then are we giving that same level of scrutiny to modern labor practices that might be raising similar ethical questions, even if it looks different on the surface?
It's easier to be outraged by something that feels safely in the past, for sure. And this article really dives into that, especially when it comes to our own blind spots.
Yeah.
Okay, but how does this selective moral inversion thing actually show up in our lives? It's not like we're walking around thinking, oh, well, that was then, this is now, totally different rule.
Right. Of course not. It's not usually that deliberate. It's more about, well, the article really digs into the role of unconscious bias.
Unconscious bias. Huh?
Yeah, like we all have our own perspectives, right? Shaped by how we were raised, what we believe, our politics, all that.
Definitely. I can see that.
And those perspectives, even the ones we're not totally aware of, they can be like a filter on what we pay attention to.
A filter on our moral outrage almost.
Exactly. We might be drawn to condemning injustices that, well, feel safely in the past or that already fit into how we see the world.
And we might miss things that are happening right under our noses, or
Mhm.
stuff that would make us question our own beliefs.
That's the heart of it. The article uses this phrase, moral convenience, which I thought was interesting.
Moral convenience.
Huh.
Okay, I kind of like that. Explain it to me.
Well, it's like we gravitate toward condemning things that are convenient for us to condemn, morally speaking, and maybe we're less likely to focus on things that are closer to home, ethically.
The example that they use in the article,
Mm.
comparing colonization to modern day immigration,
Yeah.
that definitely feels like it taps into this
Well, absolutely. That's a perfect example.
because it's such a hot button issue.
Totally. And to be clear, the article isn't saying those two things are the same at all, colonization and immigration.
Right.
It's more about using those examples to show how this selective moral lens can work, because you see how many people who are understandably outraged by the harms of colonization.
Like the societal upheaval, the violence, all of that.
Yeah, all of that. They might support policies today that, while they come from a good place, could lead to some similar outcomes, just in a different way, in a different context.
Mhm. It's like that saying, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes.
Yes, exactly. It's those echoes of the past, but they're harder to see because it's all dressed up differently.
Different players, different language, yeah.
And that's why this selective moral inversion idea is so important. It's not about taking sides, it's about realizing that maybe we judge the past more harshly than the present. And could that be stopping us from having real, honest conversations about complicated issues today?
Because if we're so busy condemning the past, are we missing what's going on right now? So where do we go from here? Like recognizing this selective moral inversion, that's a start, but then what? How do we actually make sure we're not like letting ourselves off the hook just because it's easier to point fingers at what happened way back when?
Right. It's like, how do we live this out, not just think about it? Right.
Exactly.
The article had a couple of good ideas, I thought. One is just like you said, awareness. We got to see it first to do something about it.
Okay, so be more aware of our blind spots. How? By like next time I'm getting all fired up about something, asking myself, wait, if this was happening 100 years ago, different people, different time, would I still feel this strongly?
Yeah, exactly. Or even better, flip it around completely. Like, imagine you've got to explain this issue, the one you're all worked up about, to someone from 100 years ago. Could you explain it?
Whoa, that's trippy.
Right. And would you be able to see both sides, even the parts that make you uncomfortable?
That is a really good exercise because you have to see it from different angles, not just what feels good to you right now.
Totally. That's what the author's getting at. We need more nuanced, honest talk about the tough stuff. We shouldn't ignore the wrongs of the past, but are we repeating those same patterns now, even if they look different?
So it's not about saying, oh, we can't judge anything. It's about judging ourselves and the world around us with that same energy.
Yeah, it's about consistency. If we truly believe something was wrong then, shouldn't that guide us now when we see even a hint of it happening again, even if it's uncomfortable?
Even if it means we have to admit we were wrong or that things are more complicated than we thought.
Exactly. That's how we grow, right?
This has been amazing. It's a lot to think about.
It really is. But even starting that conversation is huge.
Absolutely. This selective moral inversion thing, it's something we all do, probably without even realizing it.
For sure. We're all works in progress, right?
Huge thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation. Until next time.
All right. So there we go. Hope you're still here because I had a little crash happen. Little crash happen in the middle of that. So so we'll see. Anyway, that podcast, it was interesting how what they came up with, and that the AI definitely thinks that Columbus should totally be condemned. But not anything happening today, which is interesting, especially when you look at all the conflict that is happening in the world right now. A lot of people are kind of silent about it. Interesting. Anyway, that's about all I have prepared for you today. Looks like I need to work on my tech. I did restart my computer before I started today, and just didn't seem to work as well as I'd hoped. And it did crash in the middle. That's not a good sign. But we'll keep trying. It's a Monday. Not everything works as planned. I had planned to say what I'm doing is too good for the small audience that I have, but I don't know. Didn't really work out today as planned. Anyway, it's Monday, so I'll try to get it together by Wednesday and put together a show that hopefully technically runs a little bit better than this one did. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, you all have a lovely day. I'll say hi to everybody in the after show. But until Wednesday, have a good one. Peace. Yeah, this is interesting. So I did change, and it's odd. According to what I can, this is interesting. Uh-oh. Okay. Something interesting is happening. Anyway, I can't get the chat on the screen, but there's not a whole lot of chat. So what's up, Erie Fairy? What's up, John? What's up, Lucid? Glad you all could join me today. Kamala, she's the room boarding czar. That's a good point. Anyway, I don't know, all kinds of tech issues today. What are you going to do? How many times do you need to repeat a lesson before you learn it? That's, it's kind of like that Dr. Phil. How's that working out for you? Right? So, yeah, we'll see if I learn anything today about these tech issues. Anyway, hope you all, that's all I got. Hope you all have an awesome, awesome start to your week. I'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.